Welcome to Studio 22. I'm Chandler Hardy, and today we'll be talking to former Miss America and alumna Jane Jayroe Gamble. She continues to win the hearts of Oklahomans through her devotion to Oklahoma City University and its students. Stick around to hear from one of the most interesting women in Oklahoma. Welcome back. Jane, it's so great to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So I want to just start out and talk about OCU and your time here.
Okay.
So what colleges were you looking at? Why did you choose OCU? And just tell me about that.
I'd always wanted to come to school here. I was aware of the Surrey Singers, which was a performing group that OCU had.
Okay.
And I loved music. I was a lifelong Methodist, and I just wanted to come to OCU. My parents were school teachers, so I knew coming here would be a real stretch for them financially. And then I had the opportunity to go to a state school pretty free my first year, and so it was difficult for me to make that decision.
Oh, wow.
So I received a partial scholarship.
Yeah.
And my parents said, okay, if this is your dream. So they made that terrific sacrifice. And I really, it set me on a path that I think is responsible for a lot of the success that I've had. And I'm so grateful that they made that sacrifice and enabled me to come here, which was my dream.
What was your major?
It was music education.
Okay.
There were two things that I thought about doing that were practical. Being a teacher, which everyone in my family taught school, or being a nurse, and I couldn't be a nurse. I knew that.
Right. That's too much.
So I couldn't do that. So I enrolled in music education, and that was my degree.
Okay. Wow. That is so interesting. So throughout your time here, you began to become involved in the pageant scene. So how did that start out? What did you find interesting about competing? And tell me about that.
Well, when I was a freshman here at OCU, I knew nothing about sororities. I mean, I was from a very tiny town, and I made new friends immediately. I didn't know anyone when I came to OCU. Made new friends, and they said, hey, you need to come be a part of our sorority. And I was like, oh, what? Well, what's that?
Yeah.
They said, never mind, we'll take care of it.
Well, thanks.
So I know. So they got me recommendations, and they told me exactly what to do. And of course, the cost was a consideration, but it wasn't that much since we didn't go live in a house after a while. We stayed in our dorm rooms. And so I pledged, and my sorority put me up for All College Queen my freshman year. Wow. It was just so neat to have that kind of support.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so incredible. And so that was a real positive step. And my whole life I had dreamed of entering the Miss America pageant.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I want to do that, but I need more experience.
Right.
But my sophomore year, one of the judges from the All College Queen was Dolly Hoskins, who was the director of the Miss Oklahoma City pageant. So she kind of recruited me. That plus the encouragement of my sorority sisters enabled me, kind of pushed me into entering Miss Oklahoma City. And I thought, well, I need the experience so that then my senior year, I can really enter and maybe do a better job. And so I entered as a sophomore here at OCU, and then won Miss Oklahoma City and Miss Oklahoma and then Miss America.
Oh my
goodness, that's what I thought. Oh my gosh.
And what an incredible journey to win your very first preliminary
heavens.
and then be Miss America.
I know. I wasn't at all prepared. I wasn't at all prepared. I just kind of got drug along, but what a blessing.
And what talent did you perform at Miss America?
I sang. Don Johnson was my best friend in music theory here. He had perfect pitch. And was a great pianist, and I sat next to him in music theory, and so he put together a medley of On a Clear Day You Can See Forever. And so I sang that in Miss Oklahoma City, and then I sang Sadie, Sadie, Married Lady from Funny Girl in Miss Oklahoma.
Wow.
And then my pageant director, God bless her, Tony Spencer, said, there are so many singers at Miss America. We need you to do something different.
Right.
And so I told her I was studying conducting with Dr. Ray Luke here at OCU, and she said, that's it. You conduct, and we'll take this great popular song, 1, 2, 3, and we'll do a special arrangement of that.
Okay.
And so my sister, who was a music teacher, and I kind of came up with the idea of what to do with that.
Wow.
And so,
That's so
and
interesting.
it won talent in Miss America.
Yeah. I mean, and you said earlier that was 50% of the score at
Yes,
Miss
it was,
America
it
at
was
the
a
time.
huge thing. You
Oh
could
my
hardly make
gosh.
it in the top 10 without scoring very high in talent. And you know, it was it was fun. The audience really enjoyed it. I loved it. But when I look back, what really astounds me, I mean, 19 years old, from Laverne, Oklahoma,
Right.
population about 1,200, this little tiny school in the heart of America, never had any kind of, I didn't make it into Surrey Singers here my
Right.
sophomore year. I didn't have any kind of parts or roles here at that time.
Well, on that note,
Yes?
let's watch your Miss America
Okay.
talent. So I
my
think we have
gosh.
that video, and that's going to be so exciting for us to watch. But back then, the talents used to be so much longer than they are now, and I know that we have a little bit of a clip so that our
Oh,
viewers can
great.
see your talent.
Oh, how fun.
Will you lend me your orchestra? Please do. Mr. Observer, may I hear a swinging beat? The rest of the rhythm will make it very neat. With an elbow tenor and the baritone side. Brass and strings, are you ready for the fight? One, two, three. You've got the rhythm showing. I wanna see. How well you sing, you blow it, it's easy. Like getting candy from a baby. 4, 5, 6. You know you got to swing now. Nothing but kicks. Believe me, it's nothing, now it's easy. Like picking candy from a baby. If you don't do the floor, or if you don't, we are just one more. You've got what it takes to be a winner. You're gonna be great. When I say 1, 2, 3, you got the feeling showing. Cool and free. Go on and make us know it's easy. Like picking candy from a baby. If you don't do the floor, or if you don't, we are just one more. You've got what it takes to be a winner. You're gonna be great. When I say 1, 2, 3, you got the feeling showing. Cool and free. Go on and make us know it's easy. Like picking candy from a baby. 1, 2, 3. You're great.
Thank you all for watching, and stick around to hear more from Jane Jayroe on her Miss America journey and then her journey through life. Is that good? Are we good? Okay.
Stars in retreat. The shot goes up. Devasane comes out of nowhere, and another block for OCU. This guy's on fire. This kid owns OCU's record in blocks not only on the court, but off the court as well. Earlier today, he was busy crashing the boards. Just a rebounding machine. Even cleaning up the glass, giving a whole new meaning to garbage time. Devasane, MVP on the court, and keeping Oklahoma beautiful off the court.
Hey, Oklahoma, do your part and help. Keep Oklahoma beautiful. This is our land. This is our pride. Our roadways that we travel, our lakes and parks that we love, our businesses that we build, our communities that we create. And that's why littering is not okay. This is Oklahoma, our land, our pride, and we must take care of it. So do your part and help. Keep Oklahoma beautiful.
Welcome back. So Jane, a few things that are really interesting about the Miss America pageant are we have the onstage question, which is so important, and nowadays that counts for 20% of our total score.
Wow.
And it's just amazing to think that you answered one back then, we answer one now, and it's so hard to wrap your mind around that moment when you're on stage and answering a question. Did you know the question before, or?
Oh, no.
Okay.
And I was very nervous about it because I had no speaking experience and I was very shy.
Right.
And I was a wreck thinking about that question. And you said that you have it, and it will be very painful for me to watch because I just think it was awful.
It's so great, and I want to go ahead and bring that video up of Jane Jayroe's top 5 question, which they had them sit down and then walk over, which is, you wouldn't even imagine someone sitting down on stage now to be able to answer a question, and I can't believe that you guys weren't able to prepare anything like that.
Well,
here it is.
okay.
As evidence to your talent. Since most of the practitioners in this field are men, don't you think that you'll run into a certain amount of prejudice? And if you do, how will you handle it?
Well, I know that I will run into this prejudice, but I feel that right now I'm 19 and that I'm studying conducting not only to learn to conduct, to be a qualified conductor, but to learn more about voice and piano and orchestras. And I think there's no better way than this way to do this, through conducting. And I think if you're talented enough and really want something bad enough, there's a way that you'll attain it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question like that we could be asked nowadays too. I mean,
It's true.
how do you feel about being prejudiced against, women in the workforce or something like that? So what was that experience for you? Did you feel that kind of pressure when you went into broadcasting? Or?
I never did. I was the first woman in a lot of situations,
Yeah.
but I never experienced that personally. I love the story on the conducting, though, because another OCU student by the name of Linda Twine, African-American woman, and she is a member of the Oklahoma Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And Linda was watching me win that night. She told me that.
Oh my gosh.
And she was going to be a conductor,
Right.
and has been a conductor in New York on Broadway, one of the first women
Oh my
to
gosh.
do that. And I just have the greatest respect for her and think, wow, there I was
Yeah.
talking about it,
I
and
know.
Linda is out doing
it.
So it was so cool. And here, again, 2 women from this tiny little school
Right.
in the middle of America who who can achieve some of the dreams they set for themselves.
Absolutely. That's such a great message. So looking at OCU now, what is the biggest change that you've seen, or yeah, what's the biggest change that you've seen at OCU?
Well, of course, there are changes that are reflected by the change in our society, but what I see that's the same that I think is the most important is that our students have a sense of seriousness about them. It doesn't mean that they don't have a great time.
Right.
But most of our students have a passion for something, a passion for life, a passion for performing, a passion for what they do, a passion for service. If you want to just have a college experience and have a good time, go somewhere else. You know, this isn't the place for you because it's too expensive, for one thing.
Right, yeah.
But it's a place where most of our students have a sense of purpose about life, and I think it just creates a different culture. And I still see that in the students today. Again, they have a great time, but and they enjoy the experience. But it's a place where you are nurtured more, I think, but you also have to bring something to the experience.
Right.
And I see that very similar to what I experienced. And really, my life would have had a different outcome had I gone, I think, to a larger university, because I had, of course, a professor in every class. And whether it was my major or not, my professors were interested in me, and whether I was there or whether I was paying attention. And my music professors at the time, our music school, its primary focus was opera, and I was never going to opera.
Right, yeah.
But my piano teacher, Nancy Apgar, who was an incredible musician, she tried to help me with my talent. You know, that wasn't her interest, but her interest was me. I was her student. I was her piano student. And Mrs. Silberg, and just across the board, OCU cares. And that has a strong message.
Wow. So after OCU, obviously you were Miss America, and then you came back to finish your degree in musical education, and then you took on broadcasting, and you were here in Oklahoma on KOCO.
Yes.
So what kind of an experience was that to be the only woman on that anchor team and to work with those people?
Well, it was the greatest opportunity for me. There was a big gap in there, and that gap was a lot of heartache for me, actually. It involved getting married, having a child, getting a divorce, really having a lot of crises, personal crises. And the blessing of all that was learning that failing isn't fatal.
Right.
I felt like a huge failure. And coming back from that and having the opportunity then to find this career that I loved. I made a lot of mistakes, and there was a lot of grace offered in the process, but I loved it. I had a great team that I worked with. Now, I will say the man that I was hired to co-anchor with was not happy. He had never anchored with anyone else, and he had certainly never anchored with a woman, and he quit.
Oh my gosh.
He quit rather than anchor with me.
Wow.
But, you know, I needed the money, and I wanted that job, and the man I co-anchored with helped me learn, and I worked really hard, and I learned as fast as I could. I had a great news director, and I just feel so blessed that I stumbled into this profession that I loved.
Well, I bet he looks back now and regrets that decision.
Well, who knows? I never saw him.
Oh my gosh, well, thank goodness. But we're going to take a quick break, and I hope you will stick around when we come back.
You need to leave. Oklahoma isn't your room. So don't trash it.
The Stars in retreat. The shot goes up. Devasane comes out of nowhere, and another block for OCU. This guy's on fire. This kid owns OCU's record in blocks not only on the court, but off the court as well. Earlier today, he was busy crashing the boards. Just a rebounding machine. Even cleaning up the glass, giving a whole new meaning to garbage time. Devasane, MVP on the court, and keeping Oklahoma beautiful off the court.
Some people don't think it's easy to be green. Audrey does it every day. Turn off appliances when they're not being used. Shut off the lights when you leave a room. Always recycle paper. Recycle plastic, too. Today, Audrey did her part in helping OCU conserve. It's that easy. Have you done the same? Visit okcu.edu/bluegoesgreen for more information.
Welcome back to Studio 22. And there are some very important things that we want to make sure that we highlight on. First off, we've already talked about Miss America and how that experience changed your life, but you brought an alumni magazine.
I did.
That
I just happened to find it.
I want to show everyone, and you're right on the cover. So describe
fun?
these pictures to me.
Well, of course, this is when I won.
Okay.
And then this is my first job at Channel 5, KOCO, here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And it just talks about the transition from one to the other. And I didn't live in Oklahoma City really after I graduated from Oklahoma City University. Lived in Norman for a year and then
Right.
moved to Tulsa. And then came back to Oklahoma City, worked at the State Department of Education, and then was able to go to work at KOCO doing the 6 and 10 o'clock news. And so this is just
Oh my gosh.
an article about that. But you know, OCU has been really a constant theme in my life, and I've been very grateful. I wasn't active during the years, as you know, and everyone that's working here knows. When you work in television, you don't have a lot of time off, and so my volunteer activities were limited.
Right.
And but once I changed jobs and from out of television into more of a normal life,
Right.
I got involved more in OCU, and it's been such a joy to be involved and be able to give back to the university.
And OCU just values you so much. I mean, you're
Well.
all over our campus. There's so many famous parts of our campus that you're a part of. The Miss America statues outside where they replicated your evening gown, and
so
then
great.
the famous picture in your sorority house of you winning and your sorority sisters cheering and screaming and just overwhelmed with joy in that moment. So speaking of that moment, we want to make sure that everyone sees that moment of you winning Miss America. What was going through your mind when that happened? Were you were sitting down, they had you sit
Yes.
down, which is like, so you don't faint,
Right, I
you know?
guess. Who
But
knows?
I can't imagine sitting down and then being like, oh, okay, I won, and then you have to get up and go accept your award. So if we have that video, I want to go ahead and show that so that we can see it.
Darling Dallas, California, Miss America, Miss Oklahoma. And of course, the usual last frantic, putting on the robe, Jane Jayroe, our new Miss America. And all I can say is now, Oklahoma must be really jumping tonight. How about a word for all those lovely people in your home state?
Never wrong without him. I'd never be here.
That's right, they were a big help and very instrumental in your being here. But now, your domain.
Oh my gosh. And they just kind of placed that crown on your head. Did they not bobby pin it in? I mean, how did that thing
know.
stay?
I don't know how it stayed, but I was absolutely never anticipated that moment. You know, some people have a goal and dream of that moment. I did not. I had moved into the dorm here and could hardly wait to get back. And so mine was total disbelief. And then I walked the runway and got to the end of the runway, and all I could think about was, stop crying, you look awful when you cry. And that television camera was just right in my face. And so I'm sorry that I didn't experience a lot of joy, because I really didn't. It was just
so
shock and then fear. My parents are going to be sent home. I'm not going to see anybody I know for a year. And I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I know they're going to find out that I can't do this job.
And one of the most important things that you did during your Miss America time was the show and when you visited the troops in Vietnam.
Yes.
Was that very eye-opening to you, or were you scared?
No. This again, this is something I'd wanted to do. The reason I wanted to be a Surrey singer was because at that time they always did a USO show, and so this had been a dream. My dad served in World War II, and all my uncles, and I just desperately wanted to be able to do that. And so really the media played a huge role, because every time I had a press conference, which was at least 4 times a week, they would say, what do you think about Vietnam? And I didn't have a political opinion, and they allowed me to just be honest about that. And I said, they said, would you like to go? And I'd say, yes, I'd like to go. And so the Miss America pageant, together with USO and Pepsi-Cola, who was a sponsor, put together a group of us to go to Vietnam and perform and entertain and visit hospitals and for 2 weeks. And it was just eye-opening and life-changing, truly.
That's just incredible, because now Miss America just recently picked that back up, but didn't do that for a very long time. And they didn't have her travel overseas, and I just think that's such a great part of your story.
Oh, it was just so impactful, and really made us appreciate at such a deep and personal level the price of freedom, the sacrifice. And these were men and women our age and from our hometowns and from Oklahoma that were there. These weren't people older. When we were 19 and 20, that was their age, and they were there, and it was awful. Their sacrifice was real. And then when they came home, they weren't celebrated or appreciated.
Wow.
They were denounced by many. And they weren't political either. They just answered the call by their country.
Right. And you've been the author of 2 amazing books. Tell me the titles of those books real quick.
Well, More Grace Than Glamour, and grace in the sense of God's grace, of forgiveness and that special love and unconditional love that God offers. And that's kind of the theme of my life, More Grace Than Glamour. And then I've done a devotional book, which I really love, with a lot of other women who are friends. And I've always loved to write, and I think that was the basis of the news positions that I've held that I loved. I love to write and will continue to do that probably for years to come.
That's so interesting, and I've so enjoyed reading your books.
Thank you.
The pictures are wonderful, and the experience is just amazing. And thank you again so much for this opportunity to share with me and with all of our viewers and with OCU your time here. And I want to thank you again, and thank you so much for watching, and stick around for next week's show. Thank you again.